Hello.
Welcome
To FDI Takeover. I'm your host, Alex Smith.
and your other host, Karen Ryan.
FDI Takeover.
Welcome. We're back in the studio, guys. Good to see y'all, and thanks for joining us today.
Yes, we're so excited to be back in the studio. So much has happened, actually. So we took a little pause from releasing some of our episodes because we got all of this amazing feedback from all of you out there about all the things that you've been getting out of this podcast. And we wanted to take a moment to zero in on some of the most important things that we think that people need to hear right now.
The in the now moment topics right now today, brought here by FDA for your entertainment and your education.
Karen,
Yes.
before we get started,
Here it goes.
maybe there's some new people that are listening. Talk a little bit about yourself and then what you've been up to most recently. Good, bad, ugly. Go for it.
Okay. So for those of you who do not know me yet, welcome to my world. Karen Ryan, mother of 4, serial entrepreneur, multiple business owner, business mentor, certified yoga and meditation coach, number 1, child of God, living my life to the fullest through every tragedy and triumph. I'm here to serve others and enjoy life in the massive abundanceness of whatever that means. Recently, I had a near-death experience. Let's just cut to the chase. Ugly.
Hey, yeah, let's go to the juggler. Yeah.
Right there, cutthroat. Last Saturday, we were out to dinner, Alex and I, after a multitude of craziness in the workplace. Last week, we met up for dinner, and I had a moment. I just put a piece of food in my mouth, and it got lodged, and it was a very near-death experience. The scary part about that was
I had to give her the Heimlich.
and not knowing
at the
how to do it,
restaurant.
not knowing how to do it. And I heard angel
No idea.
music. I saw light. I was like, I was counting from 5 to 1, and Alex was, but the fear in your eyes, I couldn't help her feel better when I wanted to. Like, she was so afraid and scared and nervous of what was happening to me. And I wanted to help her feel better while this was happening to me, but I had no control of what was happening. And scary thing is, a lot of people don't know the Heimlich. It's very easy. You just get behind somebody, take your hands, go under their diaphragm, and pop up. I fell to the ground in a yoga pose, cat pose, sucked it up, and Alex comes behind me, and there I am. I'm telling
I'm
you.
sorry we're laughing about it now, but life is so crazy.
Life is crazy. And I literally did not have 1 ounce of air in me. And Alex had said I had turned completely white. And it was scary because I felt so helpless. But I feel like I've had a second chance. And no joke with that. It's like every second is precious. Every day is a gift. And living right now, obviously we're in the present moment. But it was scary. So that happened. And then I had some situations with work and some personal things go on. I'm being mentored by a coach right now, a life coach. And he's been absolutely wonderful telling me about the relationships that I should be in romantically, how I should handle things in my business life and in my friendships. And it's been very, very healing. So enough about me. Tell us about you, Alex. What's going on?
Okay, thanks for that, Karen. We survived. We lived another day. We're here to record our podcast for you all. FDI stands for fucking doing it. We are here to provide a platform for education, awareness, tips, tools on how to live your dream life, heal from what you need to heal from, and move forward into your dream life. Me personally, I am also an entrepreneur. I have spent most of my career working in high growth technology startups on the sales leadership side of the house. And I have branched out the last couple years to start my own businesses for the very first time, from consulting to retreats, and then also obviously making sure that I give back to every single one of you and the universe through a place that we think we can all grow together. So that's what this is all about.
Yes.
Today in particular, we're going to be talking about difficult conversations. This is a very timely topic, I believe, right now.
Yeah.
Things are not easy. The world, the energy, it is the holidays, New Year coming up. Everybody is super squirrely and on edge. And I just think that this is such an important time for us to address the courage that's needed for difficult conversations. We're going to talk through some tips. We're going to talk through giving and receiving. And most importantly, hopefully you will walk away with something that makes you feel empowered to take another step forward to whatever it is that you want to be in this life.
I love how you said that, because FDI is fucking doing it, fucking doing whatever you need to do in your life to bring yourself again to the present moment and live life in its full abundance, and be an open book for yourself, and always be a sponge to learn. So this platform that we're bringing, especially to people who can't afford or have mental health access, we do have resources that we want to provide this for you so that you are educated, that you are given, just like this gift of allowing yourself to open up to somebody else and have this, kind of like stature of what we're offering. So difficult conversations. Like Alex says, 'tis the season, and we're going to be surrounded, holiday parties, family, lots of unresolved issues that bring people into a difficult situation, because I think that one of the most important things that I think about in a conversation is being honest with yourself and with the other person. But sometimes we try to avoid things. We hold things back. We're worried to say something that's going to affect the other person. What are they thinking? Tip, 99.9% of the time, you don't know what somebody else is thinking. You're thinking you know. You have no idea. The mind is very complex. So coming into these conversations, it's like, where do you begin?
Yeah, I think that we have to break it down to difficult conversations with relationships. There you go again. I love you.
Crazy Italian hands.
Yeah. It's so funny, the prep behind the scenes. If you don't follow us on FDI. If you're not already subscribing, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel if you are into this kind of rawness that we are bringing to the universe. But we want to talk through 3 different areas: difficult conversations in relationships, difficult conversations at work, and then difficult conversations with yourself.
Yes.
Woo! Should we start with relationships?
Let's go with the relationships. And we're going to be kind of poking some tender spots on you there, because we are coming here to disrupt the, I don't know, what do you want to say? Like disrupt maybe the ego, disrupt your world of how you can be less difficult and actually be more conversational in these 3 topics. So yeah, let's go.
Okay. Relationships, difficult conversations. So let's just start with the fact that difficult conversations are what it actually means, which is uncomfortable. And there are a lot of different communication styles. And even in our culture in America, we very much lean on the fact of being avoidant at times, not as much as other cultures per se, but to address things head on now is really difficult, because technology has given us a world where we can comment, share how we feel behind social media, behind written communication, behind personas. But what does it actually mean to have a difficult conversation head on as yourself? Have the courage to go in person to someone and talk about how you feel, especially someone that you love deeply, whether it's a partner that you are romantically involved with, whether it's a friendship you care deeply about, or a family member. We have to find the different ways in which that we can bridge communication. There is a psychologist that I follow on Instagram who I think is fabulous. Her name is Dr. Nicole LaPrera, and I have her book here, which is How to Do the Work. And then I also follow her on Instagram as the Holistic Psychologist. And she actually posted something today, obviously super timely, but she mentioned that conflict is an opportunity for a deeper connection with our partner. And if we know how to repair it, repairing is a skill. And practicing is the number one way to go through it. So we'll just start there, that the difference between a healthy relationship and a dysfunctional one is how conflict is dealt with.
Oh, wow. So based on personal experience and life thus far, I'm very observant when it comes to people's behavior. I watch body language. I can feel the energy. I have a very high energy level, so I can really feel somebody's energy and like where they're coming from. If it's intentional, I just feel it. And so when you're speaking about that, in a conversation, you have to really be careful what you say, because what you speak is very powerful. Words are very powerful. And I read something that when you speak, that it goes all the way out to the universe and can hang on one of the stars up in the universe. Like what we say is so powerful. To repair something that you've already said, very difficult to do. So that's why it's like, think before you speak. And sometimes we say things out in anger and frustration, or because we're upset at ourselves, and we're pretty much deflecting what we're feeling onto somebody else. And that's a situation, the deflection. But to repair it, it takes a lot of courage. And any situation, to show up and say, this is how I feel. This is how it is. Like, I feel this, and that. And giving yourself to that other person flat out, just being you and being open to what they're going to say. And no matter what they say, it may not be what you want to hear, but that person is then being honest too in that conversation. So there's really nothing to repair. But the problem is, Alex, is that when people are conversing with each other, sometimes they're holding back. They're afraid of what the other person's going to say. And in that situation, you just have to be completely honest.
Which I think that we also have to be open to growing. I think that sometimes we, in relationships, I know in my previous relationships, you get to a point in your relationship where you get so caught up on being right. The other person's right, you're right, you can't see each other in the middle. And then you get to a place where nobody's listening to each other anymore. And so how might you learn how to make sure each person is seen and heard? And however, difficult the information is that you're receiving, how do you essentially work on that and take that as a positivity to grow to another level? I mean, it's difficult as all of the difficult relationships or conversations that I've been in. No doubt they help you grow, which is something we shouldn't be afraid to do. And I think that it also starts there, because then otherwise you're just being avoidant. And avoidant never solves any problems. It doesn't help us grow. It doesn't repair our relationships. It doesn't fix the way that we feel. And we should never be in a place where we're suppressing issues. And so I think finding the right space, finding the right time, practicing these things and thinking about them thoughtfully. And recently there was someone who suggested a framework to me that I think is really powerful. And the way that you can lead into conversations that might be difficult with your partner is, hey, I know that this wasn't your intention, but it made me feel like this. And I understand that you are not being malicious in what you were trying to say, but what you said really triggered me. And it triggered me because this has happened to me before. We have to get more comfortable also talking about our triggers.
Yes.
They are real. They don't go away like a light switch, putting it on and off. So if we don't communicate those things with our partners, they don't know how to best support us either.
I stand behind you 1,000% everything that you said, because coming into any relationship, we all have what we're bringing to the table that's happened to us, right? So the traumas, the triggers, the certain words, the same. It could be anything. You could hear a song and it could just like tip you off, And this morning I was having I'll be honest, a very difficult morning. And there's some things that were reminding me of people in my life or people that have passed on or things I can't resolve. And I was like, oh my gosh, get it together. But, I was having a conversation with myself, which we're going to talk about. You need to feel safe. And there's a huge, immense eye opener here. When you feel safe with another person, you can speak openly. Okay. And just in our relationship as friends, as, sisters through God, we have such a beautiful sense of our relationship. It's so safe. We can say anything to each other and it does not upset each other. And from the first time we met, we just have this openness. We never built barriers. We never held back. We're just free and safe. When you feel safe in a situation, whether it's work, personal relationship, romantic, it's like the conversation's beautiful and it's natural and there's no pressure and it's just the way it is. But when you start to feel that friction and that conflict, like I'm afraid I'm going to tip this person off or I can't say anything, like you're walking on eggshells, you don't want to do that because you're just kind of feeding into it and almost enabling this disaster of toxicity that the conversation isn't flowing. It just becomes words thrown at each other and, it can explode and get ugly. And then that's where you can't repair it as well as you'd want to, and people go their separate ways. And there's just a lot of minutia in between all that, to be honest with you. But when you're in a safe relationship, anything goes. And I encourage all of you, no matter what it is, whether it's at work or personal, speak your truth. You be honest, which then opens the door for the other person to feel safe so that they can be open with you. And, growing, like you said, always room for growth. You have to read. You've got to listen to podcasts, read, get therapy, talk openly to people, and keep educating yourself to level yourself up to get to that safe space within yourself where you're not judging yourself, you're not holding anything back, and you're living the way you want to live by speaking your truth. It's our constitutional right, to be able to speak.
Yes. And This is a good segue into difficult conversations in the workplace. Just in general, we all avoid difficult situations. We all have a default mode where we fight, we flight, or we freeze. And I think the first step is actually understanding what your default mode is in situations that arise when there's conflict involved. Mine in particular is to fight. And so knowing that about myself, that can also at times be a superpower, but my also worst enemy. That means that I can also come off sometimes as pushy to people in my tone. I can come off maybe eager. I can come off seeking a resolution when other people are not ready to do so and not giving them that grace. And so the first step really is awareness on these different topics before you even enter in a difficult conversation. And because I know that about myself, when I am planning to have a difficult conversation, I literally write on a piece of paper, go soft.
Oh, wow.
Go soft, be patient, go soft, just take a couple deep breaths, and it really transform the way that my message is received on the other end. And take this as a social experiment to practice. And so therefore we don't have to look at these things as to be so scary.
Right.
What do you think your default mode is?
Freeze.
Yeah?
Okay, so I used to be a fighter when I was younger. I mean, straight out, let's take it to the alley and we're going to make this work. And that's no joke. I've
My girl.
had some fights back in the alley. And you put anyone say anything to my child, whether you're a teacher, you could be a priest, and I will take you down. Like, that's how I used to be. Now I've been like in that freeze mode. I went through probably about a decade where I just was like quiet. And for me to be quiet is, something's wrong. But I just freeze. And then I got to a point now where I become a better listener through practice. And you mentioned practice before. I've practiced to listen to people, to really be truthfully who I am, like just, open and just I want to help others. And I want to give them the opportunity to feel safe with me and to open up. So I used to be a fighter, then I was freezing, and now I'm at the point where I just become a better listener, where I can actually compute this in my mind and give them that safe space. And just that warmth of like, no matter what you say to me, no matter what you have to say, just be open and let's work on this together.
We have to talk about what you said.
Wow.
Becoming a better listener.
Wow.
Total underrated skill. I don't know if that's anybody's 2023 goal.
Wow. It's taken me literally,
but that's a big one.
Been working on this since 2018. It's been 4 years going on 5. I catch myself literally listening, giving that person. People like to talk about themselves. We all do. And when we have an open space, free and safe, you're going to rattle on and talk about you, which is amazing because we all want to be heard. That's what you said.
Yes.
We want to be heard. However, to be a better listener, give people that respect. And don't become complacent about the fighting and the coming at it. I'm right, you're right. Okay, we're all right. We're all wrong. How about that?
We all have different communication styles.
Yes.
We all have different leadership styles. And so we have to learn the language of others. That is a part of adapting in this world. And that is also a healthy way to approach conflict, is understanding that the person that you're dealing with in front of you is not necessarily coming from a place of intention of being malicious or trying to come after you, even though a lot of us feel at times that we're being attacked when we have someone giving us feedback, because we are so much more focused on the way that they are delivering it to us than we are on the actual message or opportunity it is for us to hear where we can grow. So I'm learning this for sure. In the workplace, I recently had this experience happen. I'm very grateful that my boss was able to inspire me with this message that I'll share with you all. I've been having conflict with one of my coworkers, and at first I was really apprehensive for us to all get into a room and quote unquote hash it out, right? That's kind of sounds like everybody's worst nightmare.
Yeah.
No one wants to do that first thing on Monday, talk about anxiety over the weekend, right? Going through all these different mental games. And, finally I've been reading this book lately that's called Don't Sweat the Small Stuff. I love this book so much by Richard Carlson. And basically there's a section in there where he's talking about difficult people. And it says like, as difficult as the people are that you're dealing with, don't think that it's any more challenging for them.
Wow. Yeah.
It's challenging when you know that you're trying to grow in an area and you're consistently getting feedback that, I don't know, you suck at it, whether it's from a partner or business or your team.
Yes.
That's heavy. So that made me have so much more compassion for the person that I'm dealing with. And also, I took a step back because the book suggests this as well. It said, what is this person trying to teach you? And so I sat down and I took these couple names of people that I've been finding really difficult in my life lately. And I literally did that exercise. And it took a little bit, right? Because I was like, they can't teach me anything. Nothing. I'm sure of it, right?
Right. They can't teach me. And if whatever I need to learn,
I don't see anything.
I see nothing except just the way I see it. And, but deep inside, you've got room for growth. But that's the fighter in us, because we're advocates for others. We're also our own best advocate. So we can kind of close down and be like, I got this, I'm going to learn. And if you don't know, you pick out your book or Google something. But it's hard to hear when people come back at you of what they are observing from you. So that's a difficult one.
That's hard.
Yeah.
There is a dynamic that happens in difficult conversations. It's usually a person that's giving, and it's usually a person that's receiving. Yes. And both ends of that spectrum are really difficult. And we have to have compassion for the person who's giving and compassion for the person who's receiving.
Because we are on both ends.
We are on both ends.
At one point,
Yes.
we're the receiver, and the other one, we're the giver. It just goes back and forth. So you're playing on both sides of the field. You'll be on this side, they'll be here, then it's going to flip-flop. And that's just basically what it is. But remember, you're always teaching somebody something, and they're always teaching you. And I say it all the time. People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Every person that crossed your path is crossing your path to teach you something. And every path that you cross with someone, you are teaching them, whether they accept it or not. And that's where some kinds of conflict can come in, because you come in as a threat. We can come in as threats. I've been personally attacked in many ways, pushed away. People think that my MO is to look better than them in business and more professional. However, that's all I know. I've been doing business for such a long time. I come to the table with professionalism, but I'm business. It's business. We can be friends, but business is business. And there's just a certain way, and they don't like that. So I come off a little hard and a little, and I've had to let go of business partners. I've had to sell businesses because that relationship wasn't working. It wasn't working for me and the dynamic where I wanted to be at that level. So I moved on and met some other great people, still support them, but have moved on because the conversation stopped. That other party was not willing to give and receive in the conversation, and I was ready to grow more. So sometimes you have to let go. Yeah.
You do. You do. It is a fine balance. I was recently talking to someone who is also another woman who is a CEO who's facing a lot of adversity in her work situation with her cross-functional partners who are mostly male. And she had said to me, she goes like, Alex, I'm at the point now where I can situationally adapt, which we call situational leadership, which is learn how to speak that other person's language, recognize that I'm an empathetic leader. This person is more strategic in their communication. We will have strengths and differences, and therefore working through these things, will be an ongoing journey. Or you feel like you've done that enough, but you feel like too much time has been spent in this area and not enough where the focus of business really needs to be. And you find another group of people that you think are more suited to your style of operating. And that's okay too. Everyone's entitled to that as well.
Absolutely.
You don't just have to make it work. I think that sometimes we think that might be the only way, but actually I would challenge that.
And here's the challenge. Do not become complacent. Complacency leaves you at a level where you cannot grow. Complacency is accepting just, okay, this is what it is, just stay with it. No, there's always room for growth. And when you remove yourself from that situation, guess what? Somebody else is going to step up in that group, in that situation. Everybody's replaceable. We don't want to hear that, okay? You are replaceable in the workplace. You are replaceable in a relationship. You are replaceable in many ways. However, you have to keep working on yourself to keep that that solitude, like I don't know how to say it, as solid as you are and what you're growing into be, you have to keep working on yourself, okay? But you are replaceable. So when you leave a group or a certain situation in work or a relationship, they're going to find somebody else, and somebody else is going to come into there that's going to reach them up to the next level. It's not always the same, temporary, okay? Everything's temporary.
Yes.
And everything's temporary.
A lot of organizations right now, at least in the tech industry, are doing massive layoffs. You keep hearing every single week on LinkedIn. Also, if you're not following me on LinkedIn, Alexandria Smith, holler at me. But it's interesting because LinkedIn right now is feeding me every sort of company layoff that's happening right now, which means there's a lot happening. And when this sort of thing happens, don't think that every single person is being looked at as critical or not. And so moving into the difficult conversation with yourself, like, have you built your brand and your reputation in the workplace and even as a partner to be critical? And that's a very deep question to ask, because it owns a conversation in the mirror about whether or not we are doing everything that we can. And I've been talking to my team a lot about this. It's difficult right now. Like, let's just call it what it is. But is it more difficult than losing your job or being unemployed? I don't think so. So we have to reshape our perspective constantly, AKA the conversation with ourselves. We get very complacent in our privileges and our fortunes, and we think that little conversation that irritated me all week is something to fight for. No, these things are distractions from what we need to do. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, are we positioning ourselves in the world with our relationships, cross-functionally, partners, wherever it might be, as critical?
Yeah. Speaking of critical situations, I post a lot on my personal Instagram, inspired by Karen _. My Instagram is a multitude of inspiration. I have a lot of emotional things I bring to the table. I actually cry through certain situations. And the messages I get back, the DMs, Karen, thank you for sharing this. This is how I felt. I appreciate it. What I'm here to do is to inspire people to be the best that they can be for themselves, regardless of what's coming at you. And life is critical when you think about it, because you've given this day to improve yourself. Bottom line, no matter what's happened to you in your life, you have been given another day, another chance. And if you follow me on my Instagram, you're going to see me praising God. You're going to see me saying, I've got another day of, breath in my air, the air in my lungs, breath in my lungs and my nose after what happened to me. A lot of gratitude for that. But it's the way we speak to ourselves. And as women and men, we sometimes have this negative self-talk. You have to be really careful the words you say. There was somebody recently, somebody told me to write a list of 100. Was that you? The 100?
Yes.
Yeah. The 100 things that I would like in a partner, the 100 things that I would like in business. And I still haven't done that exercise. I need to do that and stop procrastinating on that, because when you put something from pen to paper, it becomes real. However, I have the ideas of what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this weekend. But you have to become accountable for what you really want. And when you put it down, you're going to get it. You have to speak to yourself in a kind way. And I don't know. Life is critical. And guess what? We're here to inspire you and to give you this beautiful, welcoming and safety spot, to reach out to us and everything. However, we go through a lot. Our lives are just not simple and glamorous. This is fun, but it's work. And we're doing this because it's been a calling placed on our heart.
And last thing that I'm going to leave this group with that can help either the difficult conversation with yourself or difficult conversations with your relationships or coworkers is there's a really great framework to use even in a workplace setting where you have yourself and the other person pull out a piece of paper and you use the framework. It goes as such: I feel this because of this. And oftentimes when there is a lot of emotions that are coming to the surface, we don't allow each other this space to feel seen or heard, which is why most of the time conflict is not able to be repaired, because people truly, when it comes down to it, do not feel seen. They do not feel heard. So in this exercise of allowing the other person to just say in that framework, I felt like this because of this, and just have the other person listen and say, okay, it's your turn. I felt like this because of this. You start to bridge a gap and an understanding between where you both were thinking, because the reality is we don't all think and operate the same way. So want to leave you with that to try. We think it'll be helpful. Continue to have courage and take those conversations head on. Don't be afraid. They will always end up bringing your relationship closer with the person.
Absolutely. Guys, fear nothing, okay? Fear is what holds us back, and we need to take accountability for that. It's not he said this, she said this, they did that. No. You are being afraid because you're not allowing your faith to be strong. And no matter what your spirituality, belief, and faith is, let faith lead you and leave the fear behind. I am a true testimony of that. Alex is a true testimony of that. Lead with faith and not fear, because your life has already been planned for you. Everything's in place, and every door that opens is an opportunity. And you've got the choice to decide to go this way or that way. And you may go away and it doesn't work out. Guess what? A learning lesson. Move on to the next. But do not lead with fear, and don't live in the future. You're not there yet. Let that all just kind of rest and go into that just being fearless.
Yes, I love it.
I do too.
Okay, everybody, until next time, thank you so much for joining us for FTI Takeover. We'll see you soon.
We'll see you soon. Reach out if you need us.
Peace.